What's going on, friends? I'm Baltmatrix, and today we are taking a look at Transformers Siege Leader Class Galaxy Optimus Prime. This figure comes to me from my good friend Optimus, otherwise known as the Chrome Tyranno, over on Twitter. You might have seen a couple of his customs show up in my feed. He's a very good customizer. I suggest you follow him. Now, him living on the West Coast, he was able to pick up Prime here for me pretty easily. I still haven't seen it here on the East Coast, and I've had this figure for like 2 weeks now. Now, there are some problems with this figure. I want to get those out of the way first. This figure is packaged in robot mode, and he has ridiculously loose legs. Specifically, the pins that are on his hips. There are little pins right here for the outward movement of the legs. So this movement, in and out, they're ridiculously loose. I mean, ridiculously loose. Ultra Magnus has a similar issue as Galaxy Prime, but much less. It's nowhere near as bad. In fact, this figure does have some loose bits in the legs and in the turning of being able, turn the figure in the torso rotation. This figure, the Prime figure, has all of those same issues magnified by a factor of about 2 or 3. I think there's some real mold degradation going on here between these two, so yeah, maybe some floor polish remover would take care of that. I don't know, because these pins, the location of them and the location of the articulation is not ideal for getting that stuff worked in there. Putting Ultra Magnus and Optimus next to each other side by side, you get a good idea of the differences and similarities that go along with the sets. The legs are virtually identical. I don't believe there's much in terms of molding difference, while Ultra Magnus has a bunch more parts that Prime is obviously lacking. There's all this stuff back here. The overall aesthetic of the two standing next to each other is really good, even if the hips are both, or on both figures, are a bit loose. Putting Prime on the turntable, we could get a better look of him 360 degrees. Notice the extra heels. The overall look of the bot mode is incredibly good. I really do love this bot mode. It works well, even with the looseness. It's a fine looking figure. I especially like the head sculpt. We'll take a close-up look here in a second, and just the overall aesthetic works really, really well. For those of you that don't know, this figure is an homage to Transformers Cybertron Optimus Prime, or Transformers Galaxy Force. It's a wonderful design. It's probably one of my favorite... Actually, no, I take that back. It is my favorite Prime design from the Unicron trilogy. Now, the reason we're starting with this mode is because this is the way the figure is packaged, so we're going to start here. He comes with 2 very big guns. These are actually, well, the original figure, these kind of guns come on these very large pieces that become the bottom of his feet in the combined mode. But in this mode, he can use these guns as well. Guns, duh. Now, the figure also has these side pieces on the sides of his arms. They are arm or wrist armor. They form the very front of the vehicle mode, and they work as blasters, wrist-mounted blasters. The giant cannons on his back aren't there just for show. They do flip 180 degrees around, and the little handles slide back, and they are able to be held by the figure in robot mode with his arms bent at about 90 degrees-ish. So then you can get some really cool looking poses out of the figure like that. So yeah, that's really cool, actually. The original figure or the original mold could do that, and it's really nice that they were able to recreate that for this figure. As stated earlier, the head sculpt is absolutely fantastic. Those giant wings that are coming off the sides of his head, those actually fold back on the original figure. On this figure, well, his real robot head is currently sitting in his chest right now. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and get into that? To get into that original or inner core robot mode, first we're going to return the back-mounted cannons to his back, come to the chest, unpeg the chest, flip up the robot head, and then grab the entire backpack and pull it off the figure. Then come down to the wrists and pull off these pieces. Come to the shoulders and pop the giant shoulder pads off. Put them off to the side. Open up the chest. Open up the shoulders, then open up the chest and rotate the robot head out. And then come down to the feet and slide his feet out of the giant booties. Do that for both feet. And here we have the original core robot. Oh, and the last thing we can do is take these pieces, fold up the guns, and come to his back, or his butt, and attach them like this. Now, one thing I like to do is, in the robot mode, is do the same thing we did with Ultra Magnus and push down on this little piece right here to slide this entire section up along his back. Though sometimes it just does not want to go. Alright, so I'd completely forgotten the trick to this is actually kind of half transform him and slide him all the way forward. And then you could push down and slide that out or up. And then we can just push him back into place. And there we go. So yeah, core robot mode, all accounted for. Now, I will be the first to admit that this core robot mode is very similar to Grand Convoy or Optimus Prime from the Energon Unicron Trilogy series. It's got that Optimus Prime thing going for it, but it's more stocky than the original Optimus Prime or Grand Convoy again. I like the proportions of this figure, and the posability is pretty good, even if he is a little bit top-heavy due to this backpack. The hips, again, are just as loose as before, but it's okay. It really is an okay figure, even if the alt mode is kind of bad. We'll get into that in a minute. Even if you don't like the aesthetic, you can't argue with the posability. Starting at the feet, his feet are, well, they've got ankle articulation. He's got knee articulation, just about 90 degrees, and then the aforementioned hip articulation, and this is something that I find really weird. He's got hinge joint here going in and out, but ratchet joints forward and back. Odd. There is a swivel joint just above that. The torso articulation, head is on a ball joint, can look down that much and can look up that much. A swivel joint here at the shoulder, hinge joint at the just underneath the shoulder, swivel, and another hinge at the elbow, and his fists do swivel. Now, putting Ultra Magnus and Prime's core bots next to each other, you can see that the differences are minimal, other than the fact that they have, well, their heads are the same. The only different part, or the only different component, is the actual chest piece. The crotch components are different, and I accidentally had Prime transformed with the wrong crotch piece, because that's what his ultimate galaxy mode crotch should look like, a belt. But yeah, I mean, they're the same. Whoop. Other than the chest, they're the same exact figure. I mean, the same exact figure. Well, I mean, other than the backpack part. These guys are incredibly similar. The only differences are the chest for here on Prime. As you can see, they definitely are different. And then the backpack section. So Ultra Magnus's piece is just one solid piece, while Prime's piece is the solid piece in the middle with the two pieces that come off to form the blasters in the other mode. I keep thinking that this Prime's hips slide, but they don't. They don't move at all. Oh well. My Prime, unfortunately, has a really bad habit of falling over, and that would be because I'm an idiot. Yeah, forgot to flip out his heels. Same thing on Ultra Magnus. He has heels as well. Derp. Anywho, so yeah, even though these guys are virtually the same figure, since these two figures are so similar, we can have a little bit of fun with them. That's right. We can have Ultra Prime and Galaxy Magnus. Yep, with no effort whatsoever, we could just swap the armor. It's not perfect, mind you, but it does work. So, there's that. Yes, there is that, and that's very cool. Two very similar core robots that can switch armor. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with this. You could have the feet on one and the top on the other. I mean, the sky and your imagination are the limit, but I would say that anyway. But who cares? This is cool. Ultra Prime and Galaxy Magnus. This is cool. Ultra Prime and Galaxy Magnus. And we finally have an Ultra Magnus that is almost the same color scheme as Diaclone. Almost. The core of Prime's transformation into vehicle mode is the exact same as Ultra Magnus's, except with the addition of having to put the little forearm blasters back in place. Now, I did already bring them down to the butt. However, if you want to see how that works, simply push the entire front of the figure forward, and then you could grab the front section, push it all the way down, turn the entire figure around 180 degrees, but before that, loosen up the shoulders or pop the shoulders open, flip the chest open so you can roll the head up, close that up, turn that whole section around 180 degrees and push it forward, then take the arms and fold them behind the canopy like so, and get the this little piece out of the way if you want. You don't have to. And do the same thing on the other side like that. Then take the legs. You do have to flip that crotch guard up, flip them up, peg them in, and that's pretty much it. Again, even though I like the look of this, I honestly do. I mean, come on. Hasbro, could you have given us something to fill in this section here? Anything? It's not the best truck mode in the world. I do have a bit of a complaint with this truck mode, especially considering the box. Now, if you look at the box here, you will see the truck mode has something going over top. The top of the truck. I have no idea what that is. I keep looking at it, and it's showing up for you here on the screen, but it's in front of me over there. No idea. No idea what that is. So, yeah, that's a major bummer and an annoyance. Not a deal breaker, but still really stupid. And before we finish up the transformation into vehicle mode, just wanted to show you the Ultra Magnus figure versus the Prime figure. They both have the giant gap behind the front wheel well. Nothing I could do about that. I do like the contrast and differences between the two cabs. I think it works pretty well. I just hate the fact that the fists are still visible. That's a personal thing. All right, time to transform the cab. And this is actually pretty nifty because these cab pieces, or these shoulder pieces, actually snap in and slide into place inside the rear of the vehicle modes. And don't want to forget to fold up the heels. So getting them lined up is a bit of an annoyance, but nothing too crazy. I'm sure I'll screw it up somehow. Then once you get them lined up and in there, we just bring the two halves together and just kind of smush them together like that. Now if you're wondering, oh hey, well does this section that folds out on the Ultra Magnus figure fold out? No, it doesn't. There's a pin there. There's a metal pin that makes you think it does, but on my figure, these red pieces are really stuck into place and they don't move at all. All right then. So for the rear of the vehicle mode, flip the cannons around, come to the back, and first kind of fold the chest up and fold it down into place. Then come to the back where the gray section is, unfold the gray section, and then this will flip all the way around and peg into this slot underneath where the head was, like that. And then the wings fold forward where the painted on wheels actually get hidden, like this. Then these little gray sections fold up like that, behind the wheels. Okay, now that we have this section folded up, remember these pieces that we folded up underneath the wheels? They actually flip out, and they will connect to these peg holes that are back here. And they are actually the hardest thing to get pegged into place on this entire set, because they do not want to peg in sometimes, but they will. And then once they do, you can peg in these little blue slots, or these tabs into these slots underneath the guns. I really wish the guns snapped into place. They don't. It's like Hasbro cheaped out on some plastic there. It feels like there was supposed to be plastic that they cheaped out on. So then we have this. So I like to put the guns straight up. Then this whole gray section will go over the back of the vehicle mode, cover the fists, and then the very tip, this piece right here, will peg into the spine of the vehicle mode. So just get everything lined up, make sure it's on camera, snap it into place, and slide it all the way down. And then we have what could best be described a tenuous connection at best. And then finally, the wings will snap into those pegs on the outside of the legs. And I'll be honest, I hate transforming this thing into vehicle mode because it does not want to stay together. In fact, that's as good as it's going to get, so I'm just going to effing leave it. One thing that I keep forgetting about is this piece right here. There's a little hook that you hook onto the peg between the legs. I always miss it and I always forget it, because if you don't do that, the alt mode will look like trash, which is what we were kind of ending up with. And that will line up most of the bits, even if it's not exactly pretty. So this is the alt mode. And it works. It's about the same length as Ultra Magnus, which I'm just not going to show you. You guys know what Ultra Magnus looks like in Siege. It's okay. It's not as good as the original Galaxy Force Prime. That alt mode was just pure magic. This, not so much. It's close, but we're definitely not there, unfortunately. I want to love this figure. I really do. Galaxy Prime is probably, or I should say, Cybertron Optimus Prime is probably my favorite Optimus Prime in the last couple of, well, 10 plus years. And this is a decent homage, but it just doesn't capture the joy that the original figure does. It's kind of like a sad attempt, really. There are parts here that are good. There are ideas here that are good. The execution's not great. And the looseness of the joints is just unacceptable. In 2019, I mean, it's absolutely unacceptable. The alt mode's not great either. The alt mode of the original figure is so much better than what we ended up with here. Would I recommend you pick this figure up? Yes and no. If you have to have a Galaxy Prime and you can't get the original one, because the original one goes for crazy expensive online, this is okay. But if you've got that original figure, or if you could get that original figure for a decent price, don't bother with this. Just don't. Wait for it to go on sale. Now, if you are looking for it, go ahead and get it over at the Big Bad Toy Store. Link is down in the description. So again, I've got this figure from my good friend Grim Locamus. He did ship this to me a few weeks ago, and I'm finally getting around to reviewing it. Thank you so much, my friend. I will see you at TFCon later this year, I hope. Thank you so much for watching this video review. As always, I'm Baltmatrix. Let me know what you think of the new style. I'm using a lavalier mic to make the sound a little bit better, and I'm coming up with some ideas as I go. I know there are folks of you out there that don't like this, and I'm going to still do some of those old style reviews, especially when I don't have time to do a review like this. Again, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I've been Baltmatrix, and I will catch you next time.